It feels like Fender are dropping a new series just about every week at the minute. So I'm delighted to get hands on with the American Pro Classics today, which is their American-made take on some of the most iconic designs. And I suppose the real question with these is, are they worth dropping a few extra bucks on compared to their vintage-inspired Mexican models? So I'm going to crack into these right now to find out. And talking of classics, what better place to start than a sunburst Strat? Where to start? I think I'll start with the neck. That vintage tint is very interesting, and you'll notice it as soon as you pick these up. It's a very satin feeling, quite a fast, but almost worn in feeling neck, rather than a new satin one out the box. It feels like it's been played for a few hundred hours and quite broken in. It feels very comfortable and very quick. And the jumbo frets, I'm a fan of jumbo frets. So that's a lovely touch here, and just makes it feel old school, I would say. Old school and vintagey and cool, which is exactly what the series is trying to exude. I'm not sure. The pickups, the Coastline pickups sound really nice. It sounds like a Strat. I know that's easy to say, but it's exactly what you want it to sound like. Obviously quite bright and articulate and woody. And it says that they're 57 Strat pickups, but I'm not sure this is going for a year-specific feel. I think it's just kind of summarising the golden era of Fender in Strat form. And it feels great, it plays great, and definitely feels old school. That's what I would say, even down to, yeah, the tuners as mentioned. It looks the part, it sounds the part, and at a price point that doesn't break the bank. I'll touch on this here. They're not cheap, but I don't think they're now the cheapest way of getting American-made Fenders, which for a lot of people will be really important if you are trying to imitate guitars from the pre-CBS period, for example. They were all made in America, and so having that kind of stamp of authenticity is a big thing, and this series is now the cheapest and easiest way of getting that. So this is a lovely example. We've got a few more Strats to check out as well with different configs, so we'll move on to those now. So as well as the Maple Boy that we just played there, you can obviously get this in a rosewood finish in the SSS configuration as well, in this lovely faded black finish, which is almost like a dark grey. Really like that. And then for you young upstarts that need a humbucker in there, you can get this one in this beautiful Sherwood green metallic-y finish, which as soon as I pull it out of the box just looks really, really nice. And I'm not normally a fan of darker green guitars. And I believe, as I say, this is especially suited to the young'uns, because I think Mr. Turnstile, I think Pat from Turnstile is the flagship artist playing one of these, who are obviously very much a force at the minute. And just to give you a taste of what that humbucker sounds like, let's put a bit of gain. I'm going to be rude not to. So similarly again, very smooth, that's the word, smooth neck, with quite a kind of deeper sets kind of profile. I know it's a C, but feels a bit closer to maybe a U or a D, kind of, again, makes you think very vintage. If you've played one of the older Fenders, you'll know exactly what I mean. And speaking of nice finishes, I think this is another lovely one, the same kind of metallic flake, which is kind of old but new, it feels like. I think catches the light beautifully and looks great. It's definitely not kind of contemporary, but it's not kind of as truly old school as maybe the Sunburst. And similar with these in the traditional config maple and rosewood variants, which is really nice because everybody does have a preference. So it's nice to have the choice. And it's nice to note with these, obviously we're going for the classic, the vintage thing. The purists will be happy to note you got the 3-saddle brass bridge, which is a big thing. It's what a lot of people swear by is part of the Teletone, part of the twang. So that's here. And it just, again, feels like a Tele in all the best ways and looks the part and sounds the part. And there is another one, though, of the Teles in this line, which is the one that instantly caught my eye. So let's have a quick look at that one now. And here it is. And I admittedly had to do a bit of a double take when I saw this, because seeing the word classic and then seeing a Nashville Tele setup wasn't what I expected at all. And I don't even know, did they do the Nashville Tele setup pre-CBS? Any Fender history aficionados, let me know in the comments, because I actually don't know that one off the top of my head. But obviously I'm a fan of country guitar, so a Nashville Tele thing has always made sense to me. I like to see them. It's kind of cool to see it included in this range, even if I didn't expect it. And it just sounds apart, having that extra pickup in there obviously gets you closer to maybe Stratty sort of sounds, if that's what you're going for, a bit more versatility. As Dan was saying, I think all the pickups in this series are overwound, which gives them kind of maybe more nuanced tonal properties compared to some of the others, so they've got their own sound. Yeah, I just need to shut up and play it, don't I? Yeah, myriad of lovely tones to get to there. The hotshot Tele, they call this, and I can see why. And nice to see the offsets represented too. This rosewood board Jazzmaster in this lovely aged fire mist gold. Again, metallic-y and sparkly and lovely, but still fairly understated without being like ostentatious, I guess. So let's hear how this thing sounds. What a spank to that. That sounds really nice. Hang on. Yeah, slightly different than normal soap bars, but it sounds cool. Again, the neck feels nice. It's really hard to describe that kind of, did they call it vintage tint, Dan, I think? Where it just looks kind of aged and nice, but still plays really smoothly. So it looks and feels the part, which is lovely. It feels like a Jazzmaster, well put together, very solid. Kind of the Mustang bridge, obviously, which is a nice upgrade. I don't know if it technically is, but that's certainly what it reminds me of. The kind of chunkier frets, it just... I've used old school about 3 times, but that is what it feels like. It's definitely, the vintage inspired thing is coming through. Just in terms of how they feel and play, and I know I'm not doing the best job of translating that verbally, but that is it's hitting the mark really. And I think the finishes are really interesting. Obviously the Sherwoody greeny one, the gold and the blue are, because of the sparkle effect going on in the finish, the flake, it just, I don't know, gives them a bit of a fresh look, which I really like. I think it's really cool. Obviously you've got the classic butterscotch and sunburst and faded blacks, but these metallic flake ones are definitely my favourite. I think these look fantastic. That's all the 6-stringers dealt with now, so I'll do my best to muddle my way through some 4-string basses. And now for you, our 4-stringer Amigos. This is a jazz bass, as you well know. Maple neck, obviously variant. One of the things that I love here, again, I'm just going to talk about at the finish. This is the only, there are a lot of the finishes shared between these. Obviously, we just got a selection. This, I believe, is a faded Dakota red. As soon as I got it out of the box, loved it. I'm normally more of a Fiesta red man myself if we're talking classic pre-CBS finishes, but I think the fact that this is slightly faded gives it a slightly sort of pinky hue, like the way that Fiesta goes when it's faded. Obviously 60, so it fits the vibe cosmetically that the series is going for, but it just looks like a great finish in its own right. And I'll shut up about that now. Everything else is pretty much as you would expect from a jazz bass. Obviously the big open gear tuners, that same vint tint, whatever it's called, finish on the neck that just is nice and smooth, as I've said, covered that. And now I'll butcher some bass playing with a pick for your amusement and pleasure. From the J to the P, we'll take the headstock tuner off there, subtly. Let's get it switched over. And I don't have to talk about the finish in this one because I've covered it already. I'm sure you'll be delighted to hear because I spent far too long on that. Again, the humble P bass, we know it, we love it. For those punchy bass tones, yeah. Very similar thing going on here. The classic split pickup, maple neck. You know exactly what it is. Let's just hear how it sounds. And I didn't even tune that one before I went, so apologies if that was slightly out, but it plays really, really nicely, does everything you want it to do sound-wise. Again, very punchy, especially compared to the jazz bass. Perfect for all genres. That's what I like about a P bass. You can put it in pretty much any band setting and it sounds phenomenal. And this is a really nice example of it. Obviously, if you want something made in America, this is now your entry level, essentially. So to answer that question then that we posed at the start as to whether they are worth it, I guess, then the answer is probably yes. In my lifetime, to get hold of an American-made Fender, it's always been 4 figures. So these aren't, I think, ridiculously expensive compared to what you used to pay. And as we've just touched on there, I think, you know, to a degree, I was sort of running out of things to say because we've all known and loved these designs for 70 plus years now. There's only so many things you can say about a Strat, a Tele, a Jazzmaster and jazz and a precision bass, but they all fit the brief very nicely. You know, there is a certain prestige and heritage that comes out of American-made Fenders specifically, and this series ticks that box really nicely. They all feel very vintage-inspired and retro-flavoured, both tonally in terms of feel, you know, the neck profiles and finishes. And so it is kind of, if you want an American-made Fender at a price point, then this is it, and the American Pro Classics are your way of getting that. This one in my hand is probably my favourite, just because the Nashville pickup config just gives you something a little bit newer and cooler. A few more tonal options to wrangle out of the extra pickup as well, and in a kind of butterscotch, because yellow is my favourite colour, in the butterscotch finish, I just kind of love this. So yeah, hopefully that's done a decent job of kind of summarising what the series is all about and who they're for. And if any of these have caught your eye, then make sure you head over to the website to check them all out on there, including different finishes for each one and all of that jazz. So yeah, thank you ever so much for watching. Make sure that you like and subscribe, and I've been Tom, and I'll see you next time.